Well, hey, folks, we are here today with the one, the only, the legendary, the world famous Jeannie Clark from the UK on location here. And she's come out with a new book, as you can see here, Through the Shattered Glass. And it's kind of neat. It even has your name on it.
It has my name.
That comes in
That's
handy.
correct.
Especially if you want to let people what it's about. But in all seriousness, know Jeannie for years, been a great friend, and from over the pond. And but she's we're going to let her tell you a little bit about her book here. And but Jeannie, if you could tell us just a little bit about what your book's about and what prompted you writing it. And
well, what prompted me to write the book was after I was really ill with addiction for 17 years, and I came out of rehab. The story is about my journey through the professional wrestling industry, and also about when I was a child, my unfortunate childhood, and then coming into the United States and getting fame and fortune, if you'd like, via the pro wrestling industry, and becoming a Christian in 1993. Unfortunately, I fell from grace, if you like, because of my addiction. But then I've been clean for 3 years now.
Praise God.
And praise God. And this is the story of my journey and my redemption.
Awesome. Well, it's interesting. 1993, that's the year I got saved.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to come from a non-church background, and God certainly had mercy upon me. And but in the wrestling industry, what was, if you could tell the viewers, what was your name in the industry?
My name was Lady Blossom, and I actually hated it, so I still do.
Who came up with the name? Was that yours?
It was a guy called Dusty Rhodes who was the booker in WCW out of Atlanta, came up with that name, and I didn't have anything else prepared, so I wish I did, because if I'd have known, I would have had something else to say. Oh, wait, I got a better name than that. Yeah. But because I didn't, he said, that's your name, and I stuck with it.
Okay.
So,
and you had in the industry, who did you work with?
I was initially the valet of gentleman Chris Adams, who was my boyfriend in England. We worked together in an English promotion called World of Sport. Chris was a judo person. He crossed over into wrestling. We came to the States together. Unfortunately, we split up about 1983, and but Chris and I had a daughter, so we were still really, really good friends. We became amicable, and he got a new student called Steve Williams from his wrestling school, who ended up turned into Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I was his valet in World Championship Wrestling, and married to him when he went through to WWE. And I also came up with his name, Stone Cold. So
now that's an awesome story. You got to tell the viewers, how did that come about?
Well, basically, Steve and I were just watching TV one day, and he saw a show on TV about, actually it was kind of a mafia hitman or something, but Steve said he wanted to be just like him. So his name was the Iceman, but that was taken by another wrestler. Okay. So being I'm from England, I drink a lot of hot tea, and Steve was sitting there and he was all worried. I don't know, I want this name like the Iceman. And I went, well, drink your tea before it gets stone cold. And I went, well, there you go. There's your name, Stone Cold. And it just happened just like that. But I forgot to copyright it first.
Yeah. Well, and you had mentioned, part of your journey that you mentioned in your book, coming to Christ and then straying a little bit. And as Christians, we know we can take detours a while. But God's so good and loving and merciful to us. He obviously draws His children back to Him. But you had mentioned that one of the things that that kind of got you off track, certainly that unfortunately comes part and parcel with the wrestling industry, is drugs.
Yes.
And things of that nature. Could you share maybe a little bit of that danger?
There is over 70 wrestlers under the age of 50 that have died from drugs within the industry. The schedule and the physical pain, and it's so easy to get.
Yeah.
You don't have to try. There's what we call doctors that will offer you all the prescriptions. I had some postnatal depression, along with the pressures of Steve's fame and my isolation. I became an addict. I was still a Christian. I was still reading my Bible, but at that time, I didn't quit the drugs because I didn't know how, because it was hard to.
Yeah.
But there were several instances where I was on the verge of feeling I wanted to die.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I think stands out looking back on horrific years of addiction is my faith. And I had many times where I just saw that light that flickered, and that was Jesus. My light was never diminished.
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah.
And I would be there like, just be better off if I just left this world and everything, and then I'd be... But Jesus suffered way more than I suffered.
Yeah.
And then maybe you should consider it joy in suffering. But there was this just overwhelming love that I had for Jesus that was just... I didn't need anybody in the world, to give me approval, which I was sort of searching for, some kind of approval since I was a child that was semi-neglected, and I don't have any resentments towards anybody. I've forgiven everybody, but even as a child, at 7 years old, one of the places I would go, I'd find a church, and they didn't shut the doors then in the UK, because everybody could just walk in the church. And I would go there, and I would roller skate all over the church. And I would be, oh man, there's swings out there, I can go play out there. But I thought, as a 7-year-old child, well, where is this God? Because this is his house.
Right.
He never comes home.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he knows now if I stole that bottle of milk I stole, because they deliver milk.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I did steal the milk and some fruit. But for some reason, I thought, oh, he does know, because I thought the moon was following me. And God was like, I've seen you, and now I'm going to make that moon follow you. It's a really cute story, but it was real to me at 7. And so that was my first, belief as an innocent child. I really did think, well, maybe if I go back the next day, God and his son, Jesus, because I'd heard it, maybe in school, not from anybody else, because, hey, it'd be kind of cool to see them, because I'm always here and they're never home. But so the next thing I remember is at 11 years old, I was in assembly at school, and they put on the movie, The King of Kings. It's Easter movie.
Yeah.
And I was watching it, and I felt so, I don't know, 11 years old, but I cried and I cried and cried, and all the other kids were like, what's wrong with her? And I was just like, oh, why are they doing this to this person, And so after the assembly, we went for school, for dinner, and I was still crying. Like, what's wrong? And I was just, why did they crucify? I just felt this love.
Yeah.
And they ended up calling up my mum and telling me, you need to pick her up because she's not able to stop crying. So I knew I had this natural love as a child. And then years went on and I didn't. And then actually when I was about to get married, my ex-husband, he said, well, I've been married in church before, so we're going to have a little wedding at the house. So I said, okay, it's fine. But maybe I better go to the church to hire the pastor.
Yeah.
So I go into the church, and Tom Kaplan is still a friend of mine. And I go, hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I just need to know your schedule because I need to book you for a wedding at the house. You know, if you're available, can you? Because I'm getting married and we need a pastor to come to the house. So, oh, hold on a minute. You want to come to my office? I was like, yeah. He says, well, where are you at spiritually? Oh, no, I love Jesus, always have, since I was a child. And I meant that because I did, and I meant that just sincerely. But I'd never read the Bible, and you know, we have a counselling. Okay, I'm cool with that. So your boyfriend or husband, you know, if you guys come to counselling, we talk about the wedding. So I go home to Steve and I go, it's all good, but we have to go counselling. No way. He said, I'm not doing that. And I was like, back to the church, and I said, well, he can't come, but I will. So, you know, he wasn't too happy about that, but I said, oh, he's a pro wrestler, he's on the road all the time, he's always on the road. So, you know, but I will. So then after I'm sitting and I'm talking to him, and then the next thing I'm going to church every Sunday, I'm joining the Bible groups, and I go home to Steve and I go, I don't want to get married in the house. I want to get married in church, and I want to get baptized first. And then I started studying the Bible for about 20 years now. And then I studied your DVDs.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's basically my story.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, you mentioned the movie piece of media, King of Kings, and then that's ultimately how we connected through media and the scriptures and stuff with Get a Life. And but that is the power of media. And once again, you put your story to media with the book. And that's, our heartbeat at getalifemedia.com is media. And how do you share the good news of Jesus? That no matter where you come from, even as a little child, weren't there yet, but cognizant questions, and you see God's hand leading you through that. How do you reach people? It's media, whether it be a book, whether it be a movie, whether it be a video.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the enemy's using the media for so much rotten and evil. But as Christians, we need to be responsible, and we need to share the good news of Jesus with people, whatever the media, whatever the format.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate, about your effort with your book there. And really, it's a book, certainly about with your years and involvement with the wrestling industry. But what I've really appreciated is it's about Jesus.
Yes.
It's about your journey with Jesus. And you certainly include those other aspects there, but so that people can know. And in my own testimony, as you know, Jeannie, I didn't get saved till I was 25 in 1993. But I've often said, boy, I wish I could have gotten saved earlier. And of course, God has this timetable. I don't necessarily regret it, and He uses even my wretched past for other people's good. So you can rejoice in suffering.
Yeah.
But how often it puts an urgency upon me of the importance to not take for granted the opportunities that God gives us. We need to share the gospel because from man's perspective, man, it could have saved me. Hey, even if you could have taken off 1 year of the junk that I went through prior to knowing Christ. Wow, what a benefit that would be. And to me, as a pastor, as a Christian, it's such a joy to see true conversion, true younger people coming to Christ, because I'm going like, wow, what would life have been like if I had gotten saved when I was 10 years old or something, whatever. And I remember in Bible college days, we'd always have to introduce ourselves at the beginning of each semester and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I live here, and here's the church I go to, and here's why I'm here in Bible college. And oftentimes they'd have us give us a little short testimony. Well, I have my testimony, hey, ex-headbanger, 1980s, drug addict, sexual immoral, male chauvinist pig guy involved in the occult and New Age, and God saved me. And everybody's, and they go, now that's a testimony, right? And then you get the guy, and they're almost always would be very sheepish. And then we go, well, I got saved when I was 6, and my parents are Christians, and I never really got into drugs. I'm not saying I'm perfect. We've all sinned and fall short of God's glory, but they raised me up in the church, and that's pretty much all I've ever known. And they almost like they were ashamed of their testimony. And I remember me and another guy, still a good friend to this day. He was a former male homosexual prostitute, heroin addict on the streets of San Francisco, and he radically got saved. And so, like, he and I'd be looking at that guy's testimony, listening to him, we're going like, you lucky guy. You know, we were like, and he was all sheepish about it. But that's the good news of the gospel, that whatever we can do to get God's word out in story format, media format, hopefully younger and possible. You know, you got a lot of young people who are still heavily interested in the wrestling industry.
Yes.
And I think your book there could really be used of the Lord to reach out to those folks and get them going in the right direction as early on as possible.
That would make everything perfect and worth it for the time I spent writing it, just for someone to say, to help them, bring them, and that would be magic. I'd love that.
Yeah, well, Scripture says all that we do,
Yeah.
we need to do it for the glory of God. And you certainly done that. Thank you that much. But before we let you go, where can people get a copy of your book, Through the Shattered Glass?
It's available on Amazon and Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk. That's where you can mainly get it.
Okay, Amazon. So basically they could just search Through the Shattered Glass.
Yeah.
Jeannie Clark with one N.
With one N.
G-E-A-N-I-E.
Everybody gets it wrong.
Clark will probably put it up on the screen there for people to be able to check it out. And but before we let you go, notice you got another book with you. Could you just tell us about that?
This is a book called The Rapture by Pastor Billy Crone.
Oh, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, it's a really good book.
Yeah, awesome,
you know that guy?
I think maybe on weekends or something. You know, it sounds familiar. But that's awesome. Well, hey, you obviously got an advanced copy. When can everybody else get their copy?
They can get their copy in 5 days.
Hey, that's right, folks. You heard it in 5 days straight from Jeannie's mouth. Don't forget your copy, The Rapture, Don't Be Deceived, available on book, DVD, and Bible study curriculum. 5 more days.